Welcome to this new video where we're gonna learn about adding the keys to the object. So if you are a character artist or any sort of artist and you wanna add keys to your object so that you can 3D print it later, then this video is for you. We are gonna explore how we can use Blender to add the keys to the object. So in this case, we are gonna use the Suzanne first, and then we're gonna go to something like practical, which I am gonna be 3D printing myself. So let's just like learn from the Suzanne and then we'll go there. First thing first, let's just say that we want to add keys in this area. For example, like this, I want to like cut this part in two pieces. So what I can do, I basically can actually add a cube, and this cube is basically gonna be used as a boolean object, which is going to help us out to separate out both of these parts. Now there is a possibility that you already have two separate things and you want to make keys in between them. I'm going to show you that in the next example, but in this example let's just use the cube to create a cut. So we have this going on, and now what I can do, I can actually just go over to the Suzanne. I'm going to duplicate it. So let's just duplicate and name it head. And the next Suzanne, let's just leave it like it is. So I'm gonna be adding the boolean now, and then we are gonna be using the cube. So as you can see, the cube basically have done its job. And now what I can do, I can actually apply it. Okay, so now as you can see, we have let me hide the cube by the way. So you're gonna see that we basically have the two Suzannes, but now we wanna separate this particular part out. So in order to do that, we're gonna get our cube back, and now we're just going to hide the head. I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'm going to use the boolean. I'm going to use the cube, but this time instead of difference, I am gonna be using the intersection, which means whatever part is intersecting with the cube is the part that we are gonna get. So this part is getting intersectioned, and this is what we want to have. And now I'm just going to apply it. So at this point, if you want to, you can delete the cube, but I don't recommend you to delete all your boolean object, but instead create a new collection called booleans, and just put the cubes and the keys over there. And I'm going to show you the reason why. So let me just disable it and unhide everything. So now we have the two of these things, right? Pretty simple. Now what I want to do, I basically want to create one as a male and one as a female. So yep, these are the namings that it was not me who gave the keys these names. That's just how I learned it, male and female keys. But let's just try and do that. So I'm going to hide one of these and let's just create this one a male key. I am going to be adding the 3D cursor on the surface, and then I'm going to be adding a cube. Now that we have the cube, it is important to taper the cube from the top so that it can easily go into your female keys. Not the keys, but the key. Now let's just put it here, and we have this key basically, but this is not joined with this one, but we are not gonna be joining it right now. Before we do anything else, we're gonna have to unhide the head, and we can hide this particular part. We don't really need it right now, and we can use the boolean again to actually use this key now. And let me hide it so that you can see. So now we have this female key right over here, and now we can actually just apply it. By the way, I would recommend you to create a duplicate for all of these objects, because this is not a non-destructive workflow, it is a destructive workflow. So if you were to do anything wrong in the step and you want to go back, you need to make sure that you have all these as a backup. But now we have the female key. Let's actually create a male one. So I'm going to unhide everything by Alt H. And now I'm going to hide the head. Now, one of the thing you need to realize is you need to make sure that you shrink down the male key now, because if this is going to be as the same scale as the female one, it could potentially be harder for you to put this into the female key. So what you want to do, you basically want to shrink it down a little bit. So press Alt S and then shrink down a little bit. Maybe I think this much is gonna work. I really hope that you can see how much I am shrinking it down. Let me just go closer. So shrink it down like this, and now we are good to go. So now we basically just need to boolean these together. Now I'm gonna go over here as a boolean, and now we're gonna use the union because we wanna make sure that these two are actually gonna get connected. Now I'm going to select this, and yep, we basically have the mail key. So as you can see, we have shrunk down this key. This is important. And now we have both of our keys. And let me just come out of the local here and let me unhide everything. So now I want you to remember that you save this key to basically booleans if you want. The reason is, let's just say that if you were to print this object and you realize that the key is a little bit we have shrink down the key a little bit more and now it is loose. You can use this object, like this boolean object, and basically scale it up and then reprint it again so that the key could fit a little bit better. So just for the sake of adjusting the keys a little bit later, you need to make sure that you actually save the key itself. Now you can see we basically have the male and the female key, and now I have shown you how to use the Blender's tools, like Blender's Boolean tool to create the keys. Now just look at the second example. So let's just get over there. Okay, so this is the second example, and this is actually the pumpkin that I am gonna be printing as well. So I basically wanna create the key in the stem so that I basically can, separate out both of these and print them out separately. And the reason that I'm creating a key is because I wanna create a hole in this one so that I can insert the bulbs or the lightings from this particular hole. The reason that I'm not using this hole is because if you are familiar with the 3D print, yeah, you're gonna realize that this particular part cannot get 3D printed without the use of support, because if a printer is printing this part, it is just gonna fall down, gravity. And because of that, the Cura is the software that I used for 3D printing. Cura is going to put supports that is gonna go from bottom, like from this particular area to this, so that it can support this particular part. And I don't want that, because if Cura were to create the support like this, it's gonna be pretty hard for us to extract that support from the eyes, and there are gonna be some leftovers. So what I wanna do, I basically wanna create a hole, and I wanna make sure that all the support that Cura is going to create is just gonna get eliminated. And in order to do that, I'm gonna be creating a hole in the top. And first thing first, you can see that this object is actually 5 million polygon mesh, and it is pretty heavy. I don't want to like go into the edit mode to show you, but you can see the polygons right over here. And I don't want that. So what I'll do first, this is actually me preparing object for 3D printing. I know this video was about adding the keys, but before you add the key, you need to make sure that your object is 3D printable ready. So first thing first, I am gonna go to decimate, and I am going to decimate this object. So let's just do this. The ratio, let's just try 0.1 and let's see how much we basically can get. Okay, so with the 0.1 ratio, we are getting 500,000 polygons. I think this is gonna work fine. So I'm just going to apply it. This is actually kind of important because sometimes QROC does not handle as much amount of polygons. So I am just going to apply it now. And make sure that you save a duplicate, because just in case if you want to go back in order to fix your sculpt, you can. So this is a destructive workflow 100%, so make sure that you basically have backups. Okay, so now that we have applied the modifier, let's actually export it out in the Cura so that we can see why we want the hole at the top. But before I do that, let me show you one thing. The size between the blender and the Cura is pretty funny actually. Whatever you have here in the meters is going to be in the millimeters in the Cura. So for example, you can see the size. We have approximately 2.5 meter pumpkin right over here. This is gonna get converted into millimeters, which means if you were to export it out in the Cura, it is gonna get to 2.46 or 2.53 millimeters. So let's just say that you have a object that you wanna create accurate to the real world, and that object is, for example, 10 millimeters. You need to make sure that that particular object is actually 10 meters in Blender. I really hope that makes sense. So if I were to increase the size, let's just not increase the size because we also have the stem part. Let's just export it out as it is, and you can see the size. It is gonna get converted into millimeter, by the way, just so, just in case if you're wondering. So I'm going to export it out, and now I'm going to import it in to the Cura. So you can see pumpkin.obj. Okay, so as you can see, I've told you that it is going to be smaller, and the size, you can see whatever we had in Blender in meters, it is actually in millimeters now. So let's just scale it up. Okay, let's just scale it up to 49 mm, I guess. And also I want to rotate it. Also, yep, the rotation also changes. So you need to make sure that you rotate it on the x-axis at the 90 degrees, which you can like do pretty easily. Like now, we are gonna be using the supports, because if I were to disable the support, these are the settings, by the way. If you are not familiar with these settings, then I don't know why you wanna know how to key stuff. You need to make sure that you do a little bit of 3D printing first. But this is the settings, and I am going to disable the supports. And the reason that I'm doing it is because I wanted to show you what's going to happen if you don't use the supports. Okay, so we are going to be previewing how it is going to be printing it. So if I were to go down, okay, so in this particular case, you can see, like as you go up, you can see in like few layers it is actually filling up. So this is just gonna fall down, right? I mean, I really hope that it makes sense for you. Just look at this particular part, and if you go one layer up, like two layers actually, this particular area that's actually been created, it is just gonna get fall down. There is nothing that support this part, right? I mean, just imagine gravity is gonna do its job, and this particular part is gonna get fall down. So if I were to enable the supports now and reslice it, you're gonna realize that Cura is gonna try and add the supports there, and let's just wait for it to reslice. Okay, so it actually have resliced, and for some reason Cura is not adding the support. And the reason it is not adding the support is because I have the support placement uh, like touching the build plate, so it is not adding the supports here. But let's just say that I go a little bit practical and I do this and then I slice it again. Cool, now we have the right thing. This is what I wanted to show you. So you cannot remove these supports. I mean, come on, just think about it. There is no way you're gonna be able to remove all these supports that is inside. So this is actually the reason we wanna create a hole. Now, let's just go over here now that we know why we need support. Not support, but the hole. So we need to create a hole first, and I am gonna do something practical. So this is what we have. The first thing we need to do, you can see that this is actually going inside of the pumpkin, and we need to make sure that this does not happen. So what I'll do, I'll actually go into the sculpt mode, and first thing first, let me fix this. I know this is not part of the tutorial, but I am kind of dumb that I left this part like this. Okay, so we have this now, and what I want to do, I basically want to create a boolean on this. So let's just go over here, boolean, add a boolean. This boolean is going to be difference, and the difference object is going to be the pumpkin. The reason we are doing this is so that we basically can get a similar surface on both of these objects, and they just does not intersect with each other, because right now they are intersecting with each other. And now you can see we have this. Okay, wait, I cannot move it right now. I have to apply it to show you. Okay, let me apply it first, and then I'll show you why I did this step. This step is actually pretty important, because we had the intersecting object, and that object is just gonna get inside our pumpkin, and it is just not gonna work. So I had to apply it, and now you can see if I were to put it up, we basically have the negative part of this pumpkin. And now what I can do, I can actually just create an object like a cylinder, and then scale it down, and this cylinder is gonna be the hole that I was talking about, and I am going to expand it as much as I can. The idea is I don't wanna expand it to something like this. For example, if I were to expand it like this, we can see this particular hole. We don't wanna see the hole, so I am going to adjust it and then expand it a little bit more. Okay, so this is what we have. right? I think this is gonna work. No, this is not gonna work because in this particular area we can see the cylinder. Okay, now we want to make sure that this cylinder actually surpasses everything, and I am going to create a hole now. So I'm going to go into the boolean again, and then with the difference I am going to select the object, and now I'm just going to apply it again. Make sure that you have duplicate of these, otherwise it is just gonna get ruined and you won't be able to go back. Okay, so let me just hide this, and we have this hole. So let me just unhide everything, and we have this going on. I'm going to put the cylinder into the new collection called booleans, and I am just going to do the same thing. I'm basically just going to disable it. So let me hide it, and we have this hole. And one thing that I want to do is I want to go inside that hole. That doesn't really sound that good, but I want to do a little bit of sculpting. This is actually me preparing the object. I know you are here to learn about the keys, but this is also important. I am going to be enabling the dynamic topology. The reason we are using the dynamic topology is we basically want to push this part a little bit up, and the easiest way to do that is to use the smooth brush. So I am gonna be doing this. The problem with the smooth brush is dynamic topology doesn't work with the smooth brush. So the alternate is the scrape brush. So you can use the scrape and do the same thing as you can see. So this is what I'm doing right now. I've shown you why I am doing this, by the way. I basically wanna make sure that this angle is as less as possible. So I am just pushing it up, and yeah, you can see what I'm trying to do. And now if I were to smooth it out, you can see this harder angle that we had. Also, I can smooth this particular part so that the transition is gonna be better. And this is actually just me preparing the object for 3D printing. You need to make sure that you learn about this. For every situation you're gonna have to solve other problems. For in this particular situation, the problem was I don't want any sort of support going on in this particular area. That's why I'm actually doing it. Okay, I think I can do it a little bit more because we have enough thickness to work with, so I can actually do this. Cool. We need to smooth this part again, so I am just going to smooth it out. Again, you know why I'm doing this, right? So we have this hole, and from this, like through this hole, we can actually just put any sort of lighting inside, and yep, I am just going to smooth this out. I have also smoothed out a little bit of outside. I don't want that, so I'm going to undo it. And you can, like, one thing you can do, you can actually go into the smooth and then use the front face only selected so that it does not smooth out whatever is like behind. And let's just say that I am done. I think I am kind of done, and Cura should be able to print this without any sort of supports. Let's just say that I am done, which I am. I guess I am done. I'm gonna have to do some 3D prints to figure out if it is gonna work or not. And now we have this. So if I were to unhide it, we need to create a key. Now remember the cylinder that we've used? We're gonna use that again. So I am going to hide this, and then I am just gonna be selecting the cylinder. And you can see that the cylinder is coming out. We need to make sure that this does not happen. So I'm just going to select it, and then I'm going to push it down a little bit to something like this, right? Make sure that cylinder does not come out of your stem area. Okay, now we know that this cylinder is actually gonna get fit exactly. So what I'll do, I'll actually just select the cylinder, and then I'll duplicate it. Let's just duplicate it because why not? So duplicate it, hit the original one, and rename this to mail key. So this mail key is gonna be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to press Alt S and then scale it down a little bit. And I am also going to select the bottom area, and I'm going to push up. The reason that I'm pushing up is I don't want this part to show up in the pumpkin through the eyes. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to unhide this, and I'm going to push it up like this, and then I'm going to scale it down like this. So we basically have created the taper, And now we can actually use this to create the key. So again, pretty simple. We're just gonna go over here to the boolean, and then I'm going to use the union, obviously, because this is the main key. We're gonna have to use the union. And now let's just select the cylinder, and it is just gonna work. One thing that I have forgotten to do is I have forgotten to decimate this part. So what I'll do, like I'll disable it from the display, and then I'm just going to add the decimate modifier. So decimate, and then in the decimate I am going to put the decimate at the top actually, and then I'm just going to do the same thing. Let's just put the decimate ratio to zero point 0.1, and I'm going to apply it. So now we can actually use the boolean and apply it as well. And let's just hide it. So yeah, you can see that we have the mail key and it is going inside pretty nicely. You can clearly see. So that's how you would create the key. But I wanted to show you one more example. Actually, the example where the hole does not exist. So what I'll do, I'll actually just save it first, and then I'm gonna show you this particular example, but without the hole. Okay, so we have our pumpkin back, and this time it does not have the hole. So the thing is, you usually is going to get this particular situation the most, and you might not have to create the hole that I've created. So it is kind of important for me to show you how you would create the keys in this particular situation. So I'm just going to unhide this. So the first step is going to be pretty simple actually. The first step is you're gonna have to make this particular area as smooth as you possibly can. So I'm going to go into the sculpt mode, and then I'm just gonna start smoothing. And okay, wait. By the way, I could have used the shift button to smooth this out, but let's just do this. And I am gonna go over here and smooth this particular part out. So the reason that I'm smoothing it out is you don't want any of the weird area like this, because in the end when you will print out the keys, they're not gonna get connected if the area is not as smooth as you possibly can make it. So you need to make sure that you actually create these areas as smooth as you possibly can, and they're just gonna get connected. They're gonna touch each other, and if there are some weird artifacts, then there is a possibility that the keys are not gonna be accurate, and even if they are like super accurate, you're gonna still see the gaps. So make sure that your surfaces on which the keys are gonna get placed are like super smooth. So I am, as you can see, smoothing these out, and now we have this. So let's just go out of the sculpt mode, and we're basically going to do the same thing just like we've done before. I am going to do the boolean here, so the difference, and I am just going to like cut down this extra part. So I'm just going to apply it, and now that we have this, you can see both of these areas are now pretty like smooth. So what I can do, I can actually just start creating a key. And first thing first, let's just create a cube. Cube is like the easiest way to create the key, so we are going to be adding that. Now I'm just going to place the key right over here. This is kind of in the middle. So first thing first, you need to push it down so that you basically cannot get this outside, and just check, and you can see that we basically have gotten this right. Now we are going to taper it. Okay, so let's make sure that you don't overdo it like this, otherwise there is going to be an hole in the pumpkin anyway. But at this particular point, we are ignoring this problem. I just wanted to show you how you can like create a key if you don't have this problem right over here. So I am going to create a key like this so that we can have a little bit of gap over here, and it just does not create a hole. So first thing first, you can either create a male key or the female key. In this particular case, I am going to name it key, and let's just create the male one first. So I am going to go into the boolean, then union, and yep, let's just apply it, and we have the key. So the first one is ready. Now we need to create the second one. So the female, as we already know, this one is gonna be a little bit bigger. So we need to press Alt S and make it a little bit bigger. Now we're gonna be using this and then the pumpkin to create the female one. So I'm just going to hide it, and then let's just use the boolean right over here. and then the method is going to be different again, and let's just select the keys, not the keys but the key. And now if I were to hide it, you can see we have the key. And let's just unhide the upper one, and now you can see we have created the key, and now you are ready to print both of these parts. And yep, this is basically what this video was all about. So we have prepared the object, we have added the keys, and I've shown you 3 examples on how you should add the keys. And I hope that you learned what you were here for, and I'm gonna see you in the future. Bye bye.